Good evening.
Hi.
Fairytales and Nightmares by Richard Meredith. It starts with me running. It's dark, of course, it's always dark, and the black buildings loom over me slick with dirty rain. It's wet, but the air has a humid, tropical feel, making sweat spring out all over me as I pound down the street. The surface is shiny and slippery like patent leather. My feet slide, I'm falling to my hands and knees, struggling and scrambling as what's behind me gets closer and closer. Other people's dreams. They're so boring, aren't they? Same with other people's nightmares. The problem is, it's all about mood and atmosphere. Trying to make people understand why they scare you is the hardest thing in the world. Nightmares make kids of all of us, desperately explaining to our sympathetic yet uncomprehending parents that there really are monsters under the bed. Night times and cuddles just send them into hiding for a while. They always come back. Sometimes the place I'm running through is an old European town. Sometimes a dark, enchanted forest. Sometimes I'm being chased, sometimes I'm chasing something precious that I've lost. It makes no difference. I'm always terrified. Still, rather me than Sally, us grown-ups know better than to let people know when we're shit scared. Sally never seems to have nightmares, which is pretty unique amongst 4-year-olds. Yes, she wakes up calling for me sometimes, but she's never scared, just plaintive, maybe a little bit lonely. I get her a cup of water, stroke her forehead, hold her hand and kiss her cheek, and then she's out again like a little nightlight. She has normal, by which I mean normally weird, dreams about unicorns and jelly and whatever it is that 4-year-olds dream about, but never bad ones. I should be grateful, I suppose. Like so much else, it just makes me worry. Especially because ever since the divorce, I've been having these awful, awful dreams. I could tell you about them, but you'd laugh or frown with confusement because in the cold light of day, they're as ridiculous as the giant marshmallow man destroying New York City in Ghostbusters. They are the usual nightmares of pursuit by wolves, witches, furries, fairies, nameless, heavy-breathing creatures, which, even at my age, I think I've got the right to be absolutely terrified of. But most of all, some of them are just downright bizarre. The most frightening nightmare I've ever had was about an overflowing porridge pot. Porridge up the walls, on the floor, oozing down the stairs. I woke up, drenched in sweat, yelling, "We don't even eat porridge." It has to be the fairy tales. Every night before bed, she insists I read to her from this big, vinyl-bound tome of original Brothers Grimm tales that her Auntie Lizzie bought her for a christening present. My sister has a pretty vague notion of what is an appropriate present for a baby. She clearly thinks that children start to read at 6 months of age. Let me tell you, there is some sick shit in there. Old women eating children, girls getting their feet cut off, burning witches, talking horses' heads, murder and kidnapping, and extraordinary creative cruelties you have to go a long way to try and beat, not that you'd want to try. They ain't called grim for nothing. But there's power in these stories. However horrible they are, they don't always end happily, but when they do, the relief is overwhelming. They speak to some secret part of us, even as children. The dark space under the bed where we shove our regrets, desires, and violent impulses and pretend they aren't there, until they turn into monsters just waiting for the lights to go out. There are a lot of unwanted and neglected children in these stories too. Orphans, wards, outcasts, stepbrothers, sisters, which is, considering the target audience, a little bit odd. Or maybe it's not. Who knows? Maybe there's a subliminal message. There but for the grace of God? Perhaps these stories of abused kids wandering friendless in this world are the author's way of ensuring kids appreciate their loving families, the roofs over their heads, instead of throwing a tantrum because there's bits in their orange juice. Whatever it is, Sally loves these stories. She loves them to bits, and I hate them. But I read them for her sake. I lie awake afraid of the wolves that I know will come running to me in my sleep, cutting my throat. of the gingerbread house that will surely collapse and choke me with sugar. But she cries if I don't read her the stories. What the hell am I going to do? The really bad dreams, apart from the porridge pot one, which I acknowledge is anxiety related, are the ones with Sally in them. Sometimes she's run away and I'm searching for her, like the remorseful father in Hansel and Gretel. Sometimes she's in danger, but most often she's been kidnapped by evil fairies, dragons, or my ex. One time I lost her in a medieval marketplace. The hawkers were all yelling, the crowd was bustling, and I felt her hand slip from mine, and I looked down and she was gone. I found her sat at the back of a stall that was selling meat pies, and the owner said I could have her back as long as I paid, but I didn't have enough money. I didn't have enough. I woke up from that one crying. I spent every hour until dawn going through our finances, just trying to find somewhere to scrim or save. But when you're a single parent, there's nothing to spare. Everything is begged and borrowed. Tonight she wants to hear Red Riding Hood for the umpteenth time. That's her favourite. Ever since I bought her a red duffel coat for Christmas, she looked so cute in it. I can't blame her for liking the story. At least Red Riding Hood gets off pretty easy considering she strays from the path. I finish up and close the book, kiss her on a pale, smooth forehead, say goodnight. She catches my hand sleepily. Are you going to bed? I yawn. Shake my head. No, baby, I'll stay up and work. Don't you like sleeping? I freeze. Is she having nightmares? Don't you? No, I like it. I sometimes hear you shout. Silly dreams, baby, that's all. She tugs gently at my hand. Stay with me while I go sleep. Wearily, I sit. She closes her eyes, and after a minute, I rest my head on her pillow. I'm bone tired. I can't remember the last time I had a decent night's sleep. Just when I think she's settled at last, she puts her hand out and starts stroking my hair with her hot little fingers. Poor Daddy. Would you like a story? Why the hell not? It can't be worse than my dreams. I nod in the darkness, and she begins. Once upon a time, there was a little girl and her daddy, and they lived happily ever after. Thank you very much.